Now, question 4, just a reminder of the things that you need to look at for question 4. You need to be thinking about themes, deeper ideas, tone, setting, atmosphere, and how is the writer creating this? So if your question is on thoughts and feelings, how is the writer creating thoughts and feelings to set a tone or an atmosphere? What are the methods that are being used? So you're also looking at structure, you're also looking at language again, you're looking at the narrator, and so on. So for this question, you need to make sure that you are looking at the whole text. And this means that you are really focusing on each change in thoughts and feelings so that you are looking from the beginning to the middle to the end of the text. If you don't do it in detail, you can't get in that top band. You need to do a minimum of 4 points, but you could do more. You need to talk about tone, setting, themes, and use your quotes. You might also repeat question 3 comments you made about language and structure, which is fine because in most cases a different examiner will be marking this section of your paper. So here, for those of you who really struggle, here is a very basic model of how you could answer this question. And what I would do now is I would pause the video, use this template, this model, to try and do an answer, and then mark it as we go on. And you can see the things that are put in here: method, evidence, effect on the reader. So what does that look like? In the mark scheme, you can see this goes a step further than the language and structure question. So level 4 is where a bit like what you were doing with the language and structure, where you're analyzing the method, okay? But to get to level 5, it really needs to be critical, okay? Evaluation means critical. So you're creating a judgment about the text. You're offering opinion and ideas about it. You're inferring. You're thinking about the whole text, not just a few sections. You're really looking at the overall impact of thoughts and feelings and how successfully Dickens has created that. So just another reminder about building your points. So as I did before, I showed you the method, some of the template methods that you could fill in, but you can vary that. So instead of saying the writer, you can change it to the author, the text, the extract, and these are words that I should be seeing in your work all the time for this question: effective, powerful, successful, clearly, strongly. And then the most important part as well for giving you marks is that last part, so the impact on the reader. This makes the reader feel encouraged. This makes the reader feel suspenseful because there is suspense created. The reader feels manipulated. They feel like there is a sense of pressure about to explode. So all these sorts of things are very important. Now, I'm not going to read through all of these because I'm aware that the video is already quite long, but what I'd like you to do is pause the video and look at what the exam board have given as possible responses. Now, if you struggle to create your own paragraphs about question 4, what I would do is I would take these exam board responses and I would make or create my own PED paragraph answers using the exam board's responses first of all. So turn these into answers, and it will get you into the habit of writing with clarity, writing about terminology. And I've highlighted all the terminology in red and all the thoughts and feelings in purple. So those are the two things that you must have. But obviously the most important part is the effect on the reader. So emphasizing how Florence's perception has changed, emphasizing how the reader might start to feel concerned because Florence appears to have strange thoughts about this, or her thoughts are terribly dark at this point, and we feel that she maybe heading for disaster. However, when the dog arrives, there is a hopeful change. So you've got to be constantly focused on the thoughts and feelings and how successfully those are shown. Here is a few more examples that the exam board gave as part of the mark scheme. And again, I would pause this and just read it through. So for example, when you're focusing on the middle section, Florence thinks of London as a place of danger. So those are thoughts. Sometimes some students are just focusing on feelings, but what are her thoughts? What is she thinking at that moment? And how has the writer used the alliteration like wild wilderness to make her feel insecure, for example, or to make her think of London as dangerous? So keep analyzing the language. This is why it's effective. It makes her sound like she's in some wild area where she has no control. She has a lack of control. Build on it. What are they intending? What are they showing? Why is the reader, why is this so successful? So again, pause this section and really read through these in your own time. Now, the last slide is a possible answer, just an opening, so not a full answer for question 4. Obviously, like I said before, for question 4, you really need to write in detail, beginning, middle, end of the text. You really need to focus in on the whole of the extract and how her thoughts and feelings change and how this is successful, how powerful, how emotive or interesting it is. So this is a possible answer. Again, you can see the focus and you can see terminology in red and quotes in green. The writer successfully shows Florence's thoughts and feelings right from the opening by focusing on the incident and her feelings of loss and sorrow just after this. That's me looking at method, okay? Openings and focuses are structure devices. Her feelings and thoughts of shame and terror, now we've used a quote for evidence, create both a dramatic and tense effect on the reader and highlight how she is in utter despair, even panic. So we're analyzing the effectiveness of how Dickens has portrayed her thoughts and feelings. Do we as a reader really see what she's going through? This is then further enhanced by the wringing of her hands and the weeping bitterly. These verbs and adjectives suggest that her emotions and despair have affected her physically. The writer then successfully finishes off this description of her feelings with a powerful simile, like the sole survivor on a lonely shore from the wreck of a great vessel. This is really interesting because it emphasizes not only her sense of abandonment and isolation, but perhaps hints that her thoughts come from a wrecked relationship or situation. However, the reader is not aware of whether she caused it or her family. This sense of mystery also helps to create a successful mix of feeling and suspense for the reader. And there we're using our developed inference, which is evaluation and being critical, which is essential. So pause these, go back onto it slowly, have a go at it, and compare your answers to the ones that are on the screen.